Life does not seize itself. You have to grab it by the haunches and make it work.
Move, damn you!
What is your name, age, and weight and height?
My name is Brian Collette, and I'm 27 years old. My height is about 5'7", and I weigh about 128 pounds.
What is your background in physical exercise and movement?
Well, I started playing soccer when I was 5, and I did that for about 13 years. And in between then, I also played baseball. I was a pitcher, and I played basketball. I was a point guard. And when I got to high school, I was a triple athlete. I did cross-country, soccer, track. But then when I went to college, I switched to a single sport. I went to cross-country, and I've been doing that pretty much ever since. Nowadays, I run for Team Forward Motion here in the East Bay, and where I specialize in the 5K and the 10K.
What is your favorite exercise and why?
As a runner, there isn't no real main thing. We just like to go out and run. But for me, there's a 7-mile course that I do out in Berkeley that combines a lot of little different things. There's some uphill, there's some downhill, there's it's concrete, trail, what have you. So it's a good mix of anything and everything that I could run into when I go to a race.
What is your least favorite exercise, but why do you still do it?
You know, I was never a weights guy. I tell you, I hated doing weights. But at a certain point in time, I realized that if you're only working on one part of your body, you're neglecting the rest of it. And it doesn't help because in my job, I have to lift some heavy equipment. Having, weak arms was holding me back. I'm still not thrilled with it, but I see why it's helpful.
What is the physical feat you are most proud of?
In 2011, I raced 48 times. I won 24 of them. It's one thing to go out and just, to run like once or so, but to go out, be consistent, to go out, every weekend, sometimes doing 2, 3, even 4 in a week. It just shows how disciplined a person can be, as well as just how incredible it is.
How often do you work out?
I usually go run about 5 days a week. Counting race days. I usually try to have 2 days of rest in between because I do like the idea of, letting my legs recover. But even during those times, I'm usually doing something. Like I'm usually doing weights or ab work, or even if I'm just working at my job, I do a lot of walking because I work in a hotel. So the days where I'm doing absolutely nothing are very few and far between.
Have you had a serious physical injury or a recurring injury or setback that you have had to work around or adapt to?
Recently, in September, when I was training for a marathon, and I did a half marathon, but I came back a little too soon, and I dinged up my Achilles, which is a very serious injury because it's not like something like your knee, where if you sense it, you can treat it, what have you, and Achilles is more of a subtle injury. But I've gotten around it by paying a lot more attention, doing more stretching, doing more icing, obviously doing ice baths. And then when I race, I actually wear kinesiology tape, which does help a lot in terms of making sure that everything stays secure.
What is the most important part of your diet?
I'm not a massive diet guy, oddly enough. What I would suggest is don't be afraid of, something that we deem as society deems as bad. Like if you're like the cake, the chocolate, the what have you. You can go ahead and have some of that, but the thing is moderation, how much you have. If you're eating obviously too much, then it's not going to be good for you. But like once every blue moon or something, yeah, go nuts.
What is the biggest mistake that beginners make when they're just starting to learn something?
Beginners think that they have to be the best right out of the gate. As a racer, what I've noticed a lot is you get all these people who line up at the starting line. I get these people who sprint out the first, quarter mile, and then that's it. They're done. They've got nothing left. And for the remainder of the race, they're having to, just chug, and they're in agony because they've already, used up all the energy they have in that short sprint that means nothing. The point is to win the last 100 yards, not the first.
What's the best advice you've ever gotten or something that you think everybody should know?
The best advice I can give is to know thyself. And what I mean by that is to know your strengths, know your weaknesses. If you have an honest opinion about who you are and what you can do versus what you can't do, it'll be very helpful in trying to improve upon yourself. When people aren't honest with themselves, they set goals that are way too high and they'll never be able to make it, and then they'll get more frustrated and stop working out.
Why do you love doing what you do, and why do you keep going?
It's a huge part of who I am, and running in itself, it's something that you can always jump into. You can always get back to it. There are friends on my team and people I know that even like in their 40s and 50s have came back, and still run and still do really well and love to go out and to compete and love to inspire.